Ross Merriam, of course, on Is It Phoenix, playing against Thomas Davies on Azorius Turns, a deck you don't see too often in Modern. Looks like both players have checked the initial boxes are trying to. Merriam online with an Arclight Phoenix, and Davies does have that one side. That Crewfix is Insight? No, Crewfix is something. Blue 1, each player draws an extra card every turn.
Yeah, it's killing me too. We're going to have Deckless here in a second and be able to name that card. Honestly, I'm really embarrassed that I can't remember it because I've played this deck multiple times on the Versus series. It's killing me.
Dictate of Crewfix.
There it is.
Part of a cycle of dictates.
Yeah.
Here we see a Gigadrouse, not really fully a Time Walk effect for Davies, but it will tap Ross Merriam's lands down.
Yeah, and he could be using that to set up for something like an exhaustion over the next turn cycle, or just using it to make sure the coast is clear for him to start chaining off a bunch of Time Walks over the next few turns.
Looks like Merriam's going to respond with Surgical Extraction on Time Warp. Gets a look at the hand for Davies. Temporal Mastery. Looks like another Dictate.
Yep. Scalding Tarn and maybe a Chalice of the Void. I'm not sure what that last card is. It's hidden under the Temporal Mastery right now.
Yeah, it does look like a Chalice. There are 4 of those in the sideboard for Davies.
Yeah, and that would make sense. This is definitely a matchup where Chalice of the Void can come in and still make a bunch of sense, Looks like the Gigadrouse was for 5, tapping the 2 lands Ross used to cast Snapcaster Mage, 2 other lands, and the Arclight Phoenix to prevent that 3 damage attack. But Ross Merriam operating pretty easily at instant speed with that Snapcaster Mage on the Surgical Extraction, taking away one of the key pieces to this Azorius Taking Turns deck.
Yeah, you reduce the consistency at which they draw extra turn effects. We're back on Davies. He'll draw 2 cards.
It's important to note that Davies actually had the option here to cast Dictate of Crewfix on his upkeep before draw step and would have generated an extra card, but he knows that there's a chance that he needs that extra mana this turn to cast a Time Walk effect.
We'll see exactly what he will do. Tapping 2 lands, could be Chalice of the Void. It is, it's Chalice on 1. Merriam will respond by cracking both of his fetch lands.
And this could be a number of things from Ross. Could be an Abrade, could be a counterspell of sorts, but also he could just be using this mana to cast 2 1-mana instants at instant speed in response.
He'll shock for his Steam Vents, basic island the other find.
If I'm Ross, if I have something like Negate in hand here, I actually think I save that for something else, but it looks like he has a couple of 1-mana instants instead.
Thought Scour targeting himself, Faithless Looting, and 1 other were milled. An Opt will be cast as well.
It's pretty interesting to me that Ross actually waited until the other turn, or his opponent's turn to cast these spells. Could have dug for potentially getting another Arclight Phoenix onto the battlefield.
And here is a nice follow-up for Davies. After that Chalice on 1 resolves, Chalice on 2.
Yeah, this locks down most things.
And now, a lot of Merriam's deck is just uncastable. He does have a couple creatures online, though. Davies had a very healthy life total, 17.
Yeah, not only is that healthy life total, but Ross doesn't have that much pressure on the battlefield. He can cast another Arclight Phoenix, but he doesn't really have a way to do much else here.
Start with Serum Vision, checks Davies on the Chalice. Davies hits his trigger. Crackling Drake is the follow-up. Ooh, Engineered Explosives to draw for Merriam?
Man, if he had just cast Crackling Drake instead of doing the Chalice of the Void check, he would have drawn the Engineered Explosives and been able to cast it and use it this turn.
Yeah, leaving mana behind here. Should still be able to do it next turn, but cost him a little bit.
Against the turns
there might not be a next turn.
You might not get a full extra turn.
That's fair.
Whether you're getting hit with Gigadrouse or Exhaustion or things like that, it's going to be pretty tough. But Ross is threatening lethal next turn with that big Crackling Drake. let's see what this Azorius deck can do.
So Merriam does cast that Explosives on 0. We go back to Davies. He'll draw 2 cards. He's going to take an extra turn. I believe Part the Water Veil is the cast.
Yeah, Part the Water Veil is a really important piece of this taking turns deck, acting as a win condition as well as a Time Walk effect. Right now, Davies missed that 7 land drop, couldn't cast Mastery last turn, had to burn that Part the Water Veil, something you don't really want to see. He's also already lost his Time Warps, so now he's going to potentially run out of Time Walks. Well, let's see how he does it.
Yeah, he used Flooded Strand to go to 11 for that 7th mana source. So now his 7 mana Time Walk effects are online. Temporal Mastery is the play. Go to another turn, draw 2 cards. Start with the Glacial Fortress.
So what are some of the white cards in this strategy from Thomas Davies that he would be opting for this white splash instead of being mono blue?
Yeah, so in the main deck, it looks like he is just mono blue, and then out of the sideboard, Terminus, Stony Silence, Rest in Peace, Timely Reinforcements, actually very heavy on white cards and sideboard options.
Interesting. I think that Terminus is a pretty sweet one out of the sideboard, giving you a sweeper that works very well with all this.
Yeah, sometimes you do see Timely Reinforcements in the main deck for these, but he's trying to be hyper-focused, maybe thinking decks like Burn, not too popular right now. And he's going to use Giga Drouse on Merriam's turn to tap down these attackers. You can overload Giga Drouse into Chalice of the Void. The initial copy is countered, but every replicated copy you do get to resolve. So he'll tap all 3 attackers here.
Yeah, and Davies very heads up on how these cards interact in such a strange way. Targets the Arclight Phoenix twice, understanding that the first Giga Drouse is going to be countered, and then the other 2 creatures get tapped. Here Ross is going to pop off these Chalices via the Injure Explosives. That was an insanely huge draw for him. That Spell Pierce is going to counter that Dictative Crew Fix, and now Davies is in a pinch.
Yeah, so he'll draw 2. The first draw, it's a miracle. Temporal Mastery, he'll take an extra turn for 2 mana.
Yeah, but how many Time Walk effects does he have left in his deck? The Time Warp's gone. He's cast at least 3. I can only imagine he has a handful still around.
And he's got to get a win condition online, too. The deck, relatively light on that sort of thing. There's 1 Inkmoth Nexus, a couple Snapcaster Mages, and Jace the Mind Sculptor. Here's Chalice of the Void on 2, or 1 rather.
Yeah,
he paid 2 for the Temporal Mastery.
Right, and Ross actually has an Abrade in hand to take care of that Chalice of the Void if he should need to unlock that 1 mana spell.
So he'll go to extra turn, draw 2 cards, counting his mana. There's Inkmoth Nexus. Can he now take 10 turns? He's got to protect that Inkmoth Nexus too. That is also vulnerable to that Abrade.
Right. He does, it look like, has access to 1 more Giga Drouse in hand. This is very interesting. It looks like he's going to go for a Part the Water Veil with Kicker here, and he's going to put the counters on that Inkmoth Nexus. Unfortunately, it's not quite lethal by itself, but if he can chain that together with Giga Drouse next turn, and has another Time Walk effect off the top, he could just win the game next 2, or I want to say next turn, but it's like the next 2 turns.
Yeah. So there is Part the Water Veil. It's going to resolve for an extra turn.
It gains haste!
6 counters on the Inkmoth Nexus.
I forgot that it gains haste.
That is such a weird line of text.
Ross didn't abrade it. What's he doing?
7 Infect came across?
What's he doing?
No. It gains haste, but he didn't have mana to activate. That was 6 regular damage.
Oh, I see.
It was not an artifact.
And Ross has dealt himself so much damage from things like Surgical Extraction that he's just going to die here to this Inkmoth Nexus.
Hey, here's Giga Drouse for the lands. We are on that bonus turn from the Part the Water Veil now.
Oh, this is nuts.
Again, paying 4 for the Giga Drouse so it can be replicated and hit all 3 lands.
Dude, I'm digging on this Azorius taking turns deck. These sideboard cards, these Chalice of the Voids, putting a real string on Ross, but the showstopper has been Giga Drouse. 2 Fogs, and now it looks like he's tapping down all of Ross Merriam's last few mana. He's going to try to come through for the win here, attacking for 6 off that Part the Water Veil creature.
Merriam's going to use that mana floating from that Giga Drouse, abrade the Chalice of the Void on 1. No response from Davies. That'll hit the bin. attacks for Inkmoth Nexus just for regular damage. 6 is lethal, and that's going to close it. Thomas Davies 2-1 over Ross Merriam.
Turns out 12 damage is a lot to have to soak.
I have seen Infect decks win with regular damage. You see Tom Ross, Aaron Barrett do that sometime with Noble Hierarch. That's the first time I've ever seen an Inkmoth Nexus deal regular combat damage for lethal.
Yeah, I've had it happen a time or two on the Versus series, but yeah, that was a treat.